I'm Raiderly, Specialties Raw Food Chef, and today we are going to make some fig carrot cake muffins. And for that, it's pretty simple if you have a juicer to create carrot pulp. If you do not have a juicer to create this lovely, delicious carrot pulp, which is kind of funny, I thought I just described it that way because while it does have a lovely color, it actually is a more bitter taste of the carrot, but you're not going to notice that because we're using it for its wonderful fluffy texture and because carrot fiber is really great for you. So carrot juice, great to extract more nutrition. Carrot fiber, still great to clean out your intestines if you want to eat it later. So, the first thing I'm going to do is throw most of this carrot pulp in here. And you could just technically throw it all in if you're really confident of your food processor's power. But for most people, you're probably going to want to do this in small batches, especially if you have a small food processor. I've done this in a small food processor. It would be very time consuming. So make a small batch if you have a small food processor. And then I'm going to throw in some of these dates and some of these figs. And I would want to reserve some of these anyway to give a little bit of texture to it, so we're not going to blend completely smooth. So once we've got this blended just a little bit, I'm going to add a very liberal amount of cinnamon. Or if you're not a big cinnamon fan, totally optional, you can skip it. And just a teeniest sprinkle of nutmeg, because nutmeg's got a pretty strong flavor. And some fresh lemon juice. And this is great for keeping this fresh because we are using carrot in here. And the carrot will, it has a shorter life without the lemon juice. The nice acidity of the lemon will keep the carrot fresh for longer. So you'll be able to keep this in your fridge for a couple days and it'll stay fresh with the lemon in there. So this here is just our trail mix I've made, and it's just got in it, well, I shouldn't say just, it's got a lot of ingredients. It's got almonds, some coconut shreds, pumpkin seeds, some sunflower seeds, some goji berries, some golden raisins. It's got all kinds of wonderful things in there. This is really complex to digest, so if you're not really active or if you have serious digestive problems, I would not recommend putting this many ingredients in your carrot muffins. But I'm just going to sprinkle a little bit of this in here to give it some crunch, and we're going to pulse it so that there's still small chunks of it in there, and that'll give it some variety and some texture and make it more interesting. And now, if you've got all of your proportions pretty good, you'll end up with something that doesn't quite stick together, really sticky, but it'll hold together almost as much as a dough, but not quite. And then when you press it together and you press it real down like I'm pressing it into this bowl, it'll pack pretty well. And then we're going to refrigerate it for, I would say, at least 4 hours. I'm going to do it overnight. And that will allow it to kind of solidify a bit. And in the morning, you'll have a nice little cake, and we'll just be able to turn this upside down and it'll pop out and be a nice shape. Good morning. So we let our nice, delicious carrot cake muffins with figs sit overnight in the fridge, and we just stacked them up in the fridge this way because that makes them really out of the way. And you can use an actual muffin pan if you have a good one that you want to use. So this way, they'll be nice and shaped, and they'll be nice and firm. And now we're going to make some frosting to go on them. So before I even try to pull those out, I'll go ahead and just make some frosting. So the way I make frosting is actually the same way I make my morning pudding. I have this very frequently for breakfast. And the one reason why I like to do this, in particular, not just because it's tasty, and not just because it's healthy, but because it's really, really fast and convenient. So, as you can see here, real rocket science, I have to peel bananas. Oh, the struggle. Oh, this raw food is so hard to prepare. Oh man, I'm getting tired. Okay, not really. So, here we have our peeled bananas. And you can see all this fancy equipment I've got here, right? I've got a fork, I've got a plate, and I've got some bananas. And I've got a little bit of maca powder. I know this looks like really suspicious, mysterious white powder, but I swear it's just powdered root powder. And I like to do this with chocolate a lot. And my favorite for this type of frosting is carob, but I'm out of raw carob powder, so we're using maca because I really like maca as well. And maca is esteemed to be a superfood that's supposed to raise your libido. I've eaten a lot of maca because I love the taste of it. never particularly raised my libido. But still delicious, still love it. So, okay, so now we're going to see this very hard, difficult task. It requires tons of appliances and lots of money, and it's just too difficult, very easy, and I love this. And the cleanup's super easy too. It's not greasy, it's not, you know, it doesn't involve a bunch of parts. I've only got to wash this fork and this plate, and that's it. So within about 50 seconds per ripe banana, takes a little bit longer if you're using bananas that aren't very ripe, you'll have a nice consistency. And if you're using a lot of powder, it'll also take a little bit longer because you want all the powder to get nice and wet with the banana. So if you're using like a lot of chocolate powder, like I sometimes do, you'll want to keep mashing until it's all nice and slushy and you don't have any dry powder showing. So, as you can see, this has gotten very puddingy. I'm not sure if that looks appetizing or not via camera, but if you've tasted it, you know it's delicious and thereby it looks appetizing. Using this as our frosting. Oh, and you know what else is really good? If you were to put just like a pinch of vanilla in there. If you put this in a bowl like I did, you're going to need to use a spoon to loosen it up and to get it out. If you use a muffin pan, you can just use a butter knife and just run it along the sides to get it out. I don't line with paper, and once you've loosened it up, you can do that. So now we've got our fig carrot cake muffins out, which kind of almost look like portobello mushrooms or even like some sort of patty. And we have our mashed banana pudding frosting. And here comes the really fun part, because everybody loves frosting. And feel free to do this like with your fingers and get like really into it. Or do it with a spoon, or just like, or if you really wanted to, you could just like pour it on. That would actually work too. And, you know, if you wanted to use an appliance and not just use the simple fork and plate method, you could just throw your bananas in the blender, especially if you have a Vitamix and you don't need to add water, and then you could definitely throw this in the blender and pour them on. And, you know, you could either slather them until they're drenched or put them on like this if you think that looks more photogenic. And voila. So, if you missed it, my name is Raederle, and that's spelled R-A-E-D-E-R-L-E, and my website is raederle.com. Come see me there.